they would actually be able to release something like that. So the opposition and pushback was actually pretty helpful for, pushing it back at least until...
Now, there's a lot of different companies and groups looking at mosquitoes to deliver vaccines forcibly, or putting out mosquitoes that then go out and basically reduce the population of mosquitoes or things like that. What specifically, we've shown some of their promotional propaganda here while you've been speaking, short clips of one of their promos, so we can analyze it here and critique it under fair use. But specifically, from your research, what are they genetically doing to these mosquitoes, and what's the goal?
Okay, so these mosquitoes are designed to thrive in a tetracycline, which is an antibiotic environment. And without that antibiotic, which they're given in the lab to keep them alive, without it, a protein builds up that is a lethal protein. So essentially, you can keep these insects alive in the lab, but once they're released into the wild, they contain this gene, so when they mate with the wild mosquito, wild Key West mosquitoes, for example, their offspring will essentially have this lethal gene and theoretically die. I mean, they could theoretically wipe out a population. Now, Oxitec's data from the Cayman Islands showed that they could reduce the population by 80%. Now, this doesn't necessarily tell us that by reducing the population that much, we can actually make any kind of an impact on the spread of dengue fever. There's really no correlation there. All they showed was that they could, knock off some of the population.
And this is with nobody this year getting it so far, and 31 years, 60 and other. Gee, I wonder how dengue fever got here, because I've talked to scientists years ago who would call my show off record and say, look, we've got a program in Canada, we've got a program here or there, Florida, Louisiana, releasing mosquitoes, look into it. All I can tell you is it's going on. We know there's a lot of government testing they're doing without authorization. I mean, how do we even know where this fever came from?
Well, dengue fever is carried by the specific breed of mosquitoes called Aedes aegypti, which is what Oxitec is focusing on, this species. And they are an invasive species. They're not from this area. They actually migrated up from Africa, and they can easily be transported by getting onto a ship or cargo on an airplane or something like that. So that's how. So
it probably got into some lumber or something.
Possibly.
I mean, yeah, because mosquitoes can, just live like in, sounds funny, like in a knothole of a tree or something. Who knows how they got over. Mm-hmm. But don't worry, here comes the company. Now, how does the company plan to make money? I guess they want government to start paying for this.
Well, actually, yeah. Well, let's take a case. The Florida Keys, the Mosquito Control Board in the Florida Keys would be actually paying for this technology. I think they've claimed in articles that it would cost them about $250,000 for 1 year. However, there's no telling how many times they would have to keep releasing these mosquitoes to make the difference that they would try to be making. So it really could be pretty costly if it isn't super efficient, which, 3 to 4% could still live. 0.5% of females could still be released. So we don't know.
Well, there's a potential here, obviously, as the scientists admit, for them to basically mutate or whatever and then pass their genetics on. And then we know mosquitoes pass a lot of their genetics on to us. This could get into humans. This could mutate. We've shown some of the scientists on screen while you were talking warning of that. What's your main concern?
Well, my main concern is, I've heard all of those arguments, and, there is the issue of if females are released, will their saliva, get into humans, and what can that do? What will the impacts be? And my main concern is we don't know. There haven't been independent studies. Even Oxitec hasn't, done a full environmental impact statement or anything to really show the full scale of risks, and especially for continued releases of these mosquitoes. So, maybe a one-time field trial wouldn't be like the worst, but if you keep maintaining this as a yearly way to maintain mosquitoes, then it could have a host of problems. And like I said before, we don't have any regulation to have someone to be held accountable if something does go wrong. I mean, we could be opening a Pandora's box full of mosquitoes.
Jenna, let me raise a point. Again, I'm not a scientist that studies insects, but I know enough about mosquitoes. The reason you get the little whelp there and it scratches so bad, it itches, is because they come in with their little proboscis, or proboscis. I'm sure you know this, but for viewers out there, they inject it down in, but you have a coagulants in your blood. You have platelets designed so that your fluids stay inside your body. It goes into the skin, and then it's a two-way straw. It pumps its saliva, a great deal of it, into your body. Then that liquefies. It's an anticoagulant, liquefies it so that, or else it'd be like, a frozen malt trying to suck it out. It wouldn't get any of it. And then it sucks it up. So that's what they do. So definitely the female saliva will be, I mean, undoubtedly, they release millions of these. Undoubtedly, humans are going to be bitten, and a mosquito carrying a protein that causes sterilization and death is going to be pumped into our bodies. I mean, what does the company say to that?
The company will tell you that they've tested this themselves and that there's really no safety issue. And another thing that they told the Florida Keys residents when they came out for the town hall meeting in March, and they've said many times, is that, they're all in the lab getting bit by these mosquitoes all the time, and none of them have ever had any problems. But, I mean, that's not good enough for me. I'm sorry. I mean, I really would like to see some real independent research done by people that aren't in that company and that aren't seeking a profit from this product. That's what it is for them. It's a product.
Jenna Reed, I've been asking most of the questions here. In conclusion, what can we do watching across the United States and the world to stop this? Because they're already doing it all over the world. This is a problem all of humanity faces. I've seen biotech companies announcing soon there'll be nothing natural. And Bill and Melinda Gates are saying we're going to genetically engineer humans to where your gut flora is dead. You've got to buy products from us just to live. And they own part of Monsanto, whose products do that to you to begin with, so they can then sell you products. It's kind of like the mosquito. They've got to live inside the lab with the antibiotic, and then once they get out, if they didn't get it, they die. That sounds like the perfect control system for humans, actually. And a lot of globalists say they want to reduce our population by 80%, but that's a side issue. How do we beat this? And then any other points you think people should be made aware of?
Well, what we're doing to try and raise opposition and raise awareness for these GM mosquitoes is first off educating. So go to our website foodandwaterwatch.org and find out about these mosquitoes and tell people about it. And really, it's being aware of this is the first major important thing. And then we've been helping people in the Florida Keys sort of engage their local leaders and, writing letters to the governor and the Secretary of Agriculture telling them, we don't want this. And, if this is coming into our town, we don't want to be the guinea pigs for some company's field trial. And then, finally, try to get information and write to or call up the FDA and tell them that, you're a concerned citizen and you really don't want these genetically engineered mosquitoes without proper regulation in your environment. And, you are supposed to trust in your government. And if they're not being transparent and also not, giving you a clear idea of what is actually going on and how they're just going to regulate an animal like this, you should tell them that you're concerned, and they should know. So that's what we're trying to do. The Florida Keys is keep people engaged, keep local leaders involved, and making sure the federal government knows that we're watching what they're doing and that we're not going to let this go, not without a fight.
Well, that's what's so scary about this is the revolving door between biotech and government, not just here, but all over the world, where they'll approve anything now. And I remember 10 years ago, Protigen, a company in the U.S., in Texas and one other state, had to destroy all these fields. And actually, the federal government shouldn't have ever approved it, but they did their job and ordered them destroyed. And I learned about it before it even happened. They had guys in basically spacesuits, like in a movie, out doing controlled burns of all this. And the corn was growing HIV virus in it so they could pull it and then attenuate it and then create a vaccine with it. So I don't think the average person understands you can take plants and insects and engineer them to be factories of whatever you want. I mean, this is, even if they weren't trying to destroy us, it's just thousands of companies. As I said hundreds earlier, it's actually thousands of biotech companies, but hundreds of big ones have gene guns, just randomly splicing things. I mean, this is, no wonder the elite are building bunkers everywhere. But why, if they can get regulations passed worldwide to not let you have your own water well just so they can control you, why don't they get regulations passed to actually stop this? I mean, it just seems like a nihilistic, crazy death wish by the people in control. Or is it just a bunch of corporations competing with each other and nobody's in control?
It's really a corporate influenced government. There's so much lobbying from these big biotech companies that, you know, the government is sort of, USDA, FDA are sort of really influenced by them and are afraid almost to create regulations that would harm these companies in any way. And by harm, I mean give them less profit for that particular year. So that revolving door and that real intense relationship between industry and government in the U.S. is a big problem, especially for genetically engineered crops and animals right now.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Jenna Reed, for joining us. foodandwaterwatch.org. And good luck to you and everybody out there that's fighting this. I mean, it's just common sense. They want to release yet another GMO creature into the open environment and don't even want to get a permit. I mean, the good news is these groups have bought Congress, but they have not yet bought all the cities and counties and states.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on here.
Thank you, and have a great day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, yet another mega bizarre thing that we are facing here as a society. And in closing, we have written articles linking to the Rockefeller Foundation and others where they break down the fact that they are involved in population reduction through stealth means. We have the White House science czar writing multiple books saying put stuff in the food and water to sterilize people covertly. We know that's already going on. They see us as animals. They're the scientific elite, in their view, who are going to control the world. And what they are is megalomaniacs who've lost touch with reality. And I've talked a lot about this happening in history over and over again. The globalists are setting up this worldwide control grid, they say, to protect civilization and stop World War III. But everything the establishment does, from historical and geopolitical research that I've done and most of the other top experts agree, is going to destroy the planet or come damn close to it. Excuse my French. So the biggest threat is the globalists themselves, not just to us. Yes, globalists and your minions, I know you're watching. You're crazy. You're out of control. You are power mad and drunk and lustful for technology and new systems. I understand the average loser's power drunk on their fast car in their house and acting cool. Or they're drunk on celebrity. I know you're not into celebrity. You like creeping around your weaponized laboratories and you love understanding human development and being able to predict the future with your Google, NSA, snooping, foundation-type systems. I'm mentioning that because Isaac Asimov, the Foundation series where they use computers to be able to predict the future, that's already here. They can predict mass movements. They've got it all. Well, your computers are set and can only predict mass movements, but you can intellectually and historically predict movements and outcomes with a smaller pool with elites because you guys get into the same stuff over and over again.